Tanya Barfield recently scored her first career Emmy nomination for writing the episode of Mrs. America titled Shirley, which examines what the women's movement encountered at the 1972 Democratic National Convention in Miami Beach, as well as the presidential campaign of Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman to seek a major party nomination for president. I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and Tanya joins us today. And the first question I want to ask you is, how familiar were you with Shirley Chisholm before writing this episode?
Sadly, I was not very familiar with Shirley before writing the episode. I knew who she was, but that was about it. I knew her name. I knew just the most cursory details. And so writing the episode and getting to know her and to experience her greatness was very, very rewarding for me on a personal level, not just as a writer, because she truly is inspiring.
And what I'm also curious about is, did you have to do, considering the episode that you wrote was so centered on, on an event that actually happened, did you have to do any research about the 1972 convention before you started writing this?
Oh my goodness, I had to do so much research about the convention. And it's funny, looking back on it now, I think of the things that I don't think I understood delegates properly before writing the episode. I didn't understand. And then, the whole California challenge of it all, trying to figure out how to, write that in the episode and what that meant and just how the convention worked in general and the ways in which it worked differently then than it does now. So it was a lot of research, a lot to learn. Good political history for me.
I'm curious, what was the most surprising thing that you learned about, whether it was that specific convention itself or the way that conventions operated at the time? What was the most surprising thing for you to learn in doing the research for that episode?
I don't know if this was the most surprising thing, but I think it was the most sort of exhilarating thing was to really understand how delegates worked and why a candidate would continue going all the way into the convention so that they could influence the party platform. And I understood that, of course, from Bernie and Hillary and stuff like that, but I don't think I truly could conceive of it in a real way and how important that could be. And so Shirley, of course, was a candidate that truly played to win. And I think she did want to be president, and she ran her campaign in order to become president. And I think she really was probably the best candidate at the time. But when she saw that she wasn't going to become president, she knew strategically it's all about the delegates and how many delegates she had and how she could use that delegate power to move the party to the left in a way. And it wasn't as mudslingy back then, of course, as it is now. So there wasn't like the same sense of like you're going to damage the, McGovern to the degree that, we had in the 2016 situation. But I found that to be really, really interesting.
One of the other things that one of the most impressive parts of that episode is, I guess it's towards the end where when you have that floor fight about the plank in the platform about abortion, and you see them working all these delegates, but then they realize that other people from the McGovern campaign are working against them. It's such a tense scene. And it's one of those things where, I think a lot of times, people would look at the directing of that type of scene, but I think the writing is so interesting in that. And was that a tough thing to try to convey in a written form, to try to convey that tension?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do want to, give a shout out to Ama Asante, the director, who I thought did a fabulous job, and the editor, who also did a fabulous job with the episode. Davi Waller, the showrunner, and I, we talked about that scene, the convention floor scene, a lot, because I didn't understand it truly in the beginning until she explained it to me, and I actually read through transcripts of the convention, and it was just very fascinating. And we started to think, and I certainly thought about when the guys run down, their phones are ringing, and they run down the aisles to take back what they had just given, that it's like a horror movie in a way. It's like, emotionally, and the fear that just sort of like, we wanted to capture that. And I certainly felt like I could just see that image of that so viscerally and what that would mean. So I'm glad that stood out for you, because it was an intense scene. And then also that you see the buildup of what it means to the feminists that are on the floor working, both the gratitude for all those male delegates that wanted to give up their seat for women alternates, and then the complete reversal with those phones ringing. And then, as Shirley says later in the episode, whoever controls the phones controls the floor. It's just heart-wrenching. And I thought everyone, all of the actresses, and obviously Uzo, did such a spectacular job.
It was actually interesting. I interviewed Davi Waller in the first phase of this, and she told us about a cut scene from this episode where Shirley visits fellow presidential candidate and committed segregationist George Wallace in the hospital after the attempt on his life. And I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about writing that scene.
Oh, sure. That was interesting. There's many, many cut scenes from the episode, not that we shot, but like leading up, because we took a while to figure out, what the show was, what the series was, and stuff like that. And so the scene that what I found very interesting about Shirley is that, going back a little bit, is that she was endorsed by the Black Panthers. And that was a very, very big deal. And then she also met with segregationist George Wallace. And I think that it sort of typifies Shirley in such a profound way, is that she's like, just because someone doesn't treat me decently doesn't mean that I am not decent. And it is that kind of character that made her so compelling, that she would go and see George Wallace. And then also realize, like, oh, wow, all these photographers came to try to, because people thought she's going to get flayed alive for meeting George Wallace. People are going to just be, they said, your people are going to be so mad at you for doing this, and the way Shirley, of course, would do it would be like, oh, all the photographers, well, now I'm going to use this to talk about the issues. Why, the importance of busing in terms of achieving a quality education. So Shirley could do both those things. And I think that she had such incredible poise and heart and soul and sensitivity and profound caring for people, all people. And then she was also like a political genius. It's interesting, what a lot of people don't know about her is, even though she was by many people's estimation, more radical, she would work across the aisle in Congress. And she was very good at it. And a lot of Republican congressmen really respected her a great deal. So she's an anomaly in many ways.
So to transfer this over to looking at, the monumental nature of the episode, I'm curious, what was amazing about this episode is it centers on an African-American trailblazer like Shirley Chisholm, but the episode was also both written and directed by Black women. And I'm curious, was there any special meaning for you to have this episode both written and directed by Black women?
Yeah, absolutely. That was it, to have, it was like a trifecta, of Black women involved in this. We have, Uzo, who was just couldn't have been more sublime in the role and more exciting, and Amma, who brought such vision and sensitivity to it. And me writing it, I think that we all felt in our own way really like, this is an experience of a lifetime. to be involved in this and to be involved together. And we all knew we're standing on Shirley Chisholm's shoulders. We're making a TV show, you know, but it was to us so profoundly personal. And to have two other Black women, you know, leading this with me, it just doesn't happen that often. I can't ever say that I personally experienced it, you know, so I feel such gratitude for Davi and the producers to being like, yeah, let's make sure that happens. Let's make sure that we have a Black woman directing this episode. And it wasn't a shoe-in that I was going to write the episode. And I came to Davi, you know, and I had said it would mean so much to me to write this episode. And she was like, oh, good, because I really wanted you to write it, but not just because you're Black, you know. It was like, she's like, I want you to write it because I feel like you get Shirley. And so I have to say, I can truly say that it's been the proudest and most humbling moment of my career.
So it is interesting that we are doing this interview today because right as we are doing this interview, Joe Biden is introducing his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, who's the first Black woman to be on a major party's ticket. And I was just curious, you know, normally I don't get into politics, but you know, this is a very inherently political show, and I'm curious, what was your reaction to yesterday's news, especially considering you wrote an episode of television that explores the legacy of the first Black woman to ever seek the presidency?
I was thrilled when I found out that Joe Biden selected Kamala Harris. I was over the moon, and it's not that I wasn't surprised, because I really do think that she was the perfect person for the candidate that he is. And so but it was also one of the things that was so wonderful is that there were so many women of all backgrounds and so many African-American women that would have also been great. And so it felt like in that way, as part of me was like, oh, wow, it took 50 years to get here. If we're thinking about Shirley as, you know, the sort of catalyst. And then part of me is like, yeah, it took 50 years to get here. And look how many women are here. Look how many, like the list of African-American women that were exciting for the vice president was long. And every time you would find one list, there would be another list with different names. And you'd be like, oh, what about that list? Or what about that list? You know, and that's a really exciting place. But I think that Biden and Harris are gonna be a dream team.
So I did mention that you got nominated for the Emmy for writing for a limited series. What was your reaction when you found out that you had got nominated for an Emmy?
I sort of went into shock, you know, that good kind of shock, not like I got hit by a car shock, but like I remember I was watching because I really wanted the show to do well, because I believe in the show, and all the writers and the cast, producers, we all like feel very passionate about the show. And so I was streaming it, but because I'm not great with technology, I wasn't like getting the right thing, or I don't know if I was the right time or whatever. So I was watching something that wasn't the thing, and then my phone started blowing up. And, you know, people were like, congratulations, congratulations. And I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, you know? And so I was, you know, trying to figure out what, you know, if it was a mistake that people were congratulating me or something. And so I went through that slow process of being like, wait, what's actually happening? And finally I called a friend, and they were like, yes, it's real. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? But, you know, I'm very proud of the episode, and it means so much to me. Also, it's an amazing pool of nominees. It's quite good company. So I'm also really proud of that.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best at the upcoming ceremony, however that ceremony may transpire. And to all of our viewers, please like this video, subscribe to our channel to get our latest content, and don't forget to go to goldderby.com to and use the Gold Derby app to make your predictions and see if you can outsmart the top prognosticators in Hollywood. Thanks so much, Tanya.
Thank you.